Adele Slaughter,
Here.
Alexander Black,
Here.
Chris Trent, not yet. Susan Shelby,
Here.
thank you. Jesse Sandford, not yet, excused. Chip Meehan here. Melanie Winter. Maisie, raise a paw for mom.
Muted.
Melanie, can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute her?
I did.
Yeah, only
Okay.
if I had to get, I couldn't do it myself. I had to get a permission slip.
I did make,
Okay,
I did make you, are you a co-host?
Let's see. Nope.
Oh, let me do it again. I did it, but it didn't take. Okay. Now you're a co-host.
Tony Knight, absent.
Excused.
Andrew Epstein.
Here.
Scott Mandel doesn't count. Cool,
No.
you have a quorum.
Great. Thank you so much. Are there any announcements by government representatives? Seeing none, I say no. Are there any comments, public comments within the committee's jurisdiction on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, I say no. I want to ask a question before you leave, Scott. So this is a technicality for next meeting. We have to be in person, but someone suggested to me, and I can't remember who because I have the memory of a goldfish, but that we could meet at any public place, like a park. We don't have to go to Radford. Is that a true statement?
No, that's not true.
We have to go to Radford?
Well,
I mean, they said as long as you put it in your agenda and give out adequate notice, we could meet anywhere. Like we could meet at Beaman Park, for example, which would be a lot easier, in terms of parking, but also, we could meet outside if we wanted to.
any place that's going to be a change of our headquarters has to be approved by Dunn.
Well, can I write to Dunn and ask them if we can meet it, if the committee meetings could meet at
No,
Beaman?
the board asks.
So can we make a motion and do that, or do we have to do that?
Can't do it for,
No, not for this month, but for the fall.
we can explore other, we sort of went through this before. Brandon even started doing that, remember, with the council floor office?
Oh, no, yeah, but that doesn't count. That was dumb. So,
We bring it before the board, we get approval, we find out what the costs are, if any. And if they meet all the done requirements, and then they get an ADA inspection, and then we're ready to go. So that would be the next term.
that by the time we get-
Are you
Yeah.
proposing to meet within the Beaman Park auditorium?
either the auditorium, yeah, why not?
Well, also right around the corner is the Studio City Library, which has a meeting room,
Yeah, but the library is going to charge us money.
not a city
Okay.
library.
They're not very friendly at that library.
Oh,
City schools charge money too.
wow,
All the libraries charge money.
that's greedy.
And that's not they're just not particularly friendly to people, I've been told. Do you have any other ideas, Chip?
No, I think the library is a good idea. I'm surprised that they charge.
I
It
can
would have
invest.
to be public. So like any of the private high schools have conference rooms, but we can't, the hassle of whatever we owed them for using their conference room and getting people on campus becomes problematic.
You want to do a reach out to the church on Whitsett that we had our conference at?
Oh, they might do it. Yes, I would do that.
Just an idea. I can reach out to her.
There's also paperwork that then goes through the city clerk's office, so. If you want to, if the place wants to give permission, then the board will vote, and then it goes to the city clerk, and then they send back and forth paperwork. And Dunn sends the ADA inspector.
Does the SCRA pay the school on Laurel Canyon for their meetings?
Yes. Yes.
But it's nominal, but it's something. There's a bigger budget for SCRA than there is for SCNC, and we're only a small part of SCNC.
The church might actually
Even if
do it
it's
for free.
It still goes through the city clerk.
Yeah.
There's a whole paperwork packet. And it doesn't matter whether it's a public or private property, it still goes through the clerk. So,
That's not a problem. I mean, who cares?
well, it's a process, it takes time.
Right.
I'm saying, I really don't think it's gonna happen for between now and April, May, June.
Okay, well, we can't really go
right.
on it because it's not on the agenda. I forgot to put it on.
Yeah,
It occurred to me afterwards that
okay.
because Chip was mentioning, I think, or somebody, and maybe it wasn't Chip. I'm not throwing you on.
No, because I thought there was that amphitheater along the river, right?
Oh, that Melanie's,
West of
Melanie's
Fulton.
part of the river. Yeah,
Well, no, west of Fulton, although it's all Melanie's River. But I mean, but just west of Fulton, there actually is an outdoor class, like a rudimentary outdoor classroom that I think the Village Gardeners did a bunch of years ago.
oh, yeah,
The
yeah, that's.
the Richard Lillard Outdoor Classroom.
It's
See?
even got branding.
She
Yep.
knows. So that's another spot where we could, but the problem with that is it really public?
It's on the river. It's public easement, public property. Parking is a problem there.
Yeah.
All right, sounds like some research needs to be done.
Okay, so I'm gonna, Alexander and I, and maybe Chip are gonna do some research on the different places and we'll see what we come up with. And we'll see how fast we can get that paperwork done, huh? So we don't need to vote on it. We'll just do the research. Is that cool, Scott?
Yes.
Am I breaking any
Information.
rules?
And if for some reason we have a second meeting the following Wednesday, we have a huge agenda on Wednesday night, 20 motions and 10 announcements. It's going to be a real bladder buster. So if you don't finish and we have a special meeting the following week and you have information to go before the board, then that's fine.
Yeah, and we, I'm sorry, I'm kind of a loser. I didn't get our 4 motions before the board in time for it to be on that 20, it would have been 24 motions. So, and I don't think that meeting can go till 1 a.m. So, yeah.
Not maintain quorum.
So anyway, yeah, okay. So, all that being said, our first discussion and possible motion, Council File 230167, Bureau of Street Services, Urban Forestry Division, City Forest Officer, Sidewalk Repairs, Preserve and Mature Trees. There's a hot link to the file. Melanie,
Yo.
what? You don't want
So,
to? Yeah.
no, I'm fine. I was just gonna say it's a pretty straightforward council file, and I was hoping we could have a pretty straightforward CIS on this. Something along, excuse me, just,
Do you want to screen share it, what you have?
yeah, I could do that. Hang on a second. And then if we need to do any edits, I can do them in real time. Hang on one second. Let me put that in
And
a,
while she's doing that, I just want to say that our friend Jeannie McConnell, who I am trying to get on this committee, she started Angelinos for Trees, was part of a lawsuit that Jamie Hall, an environmental lawyer, made against the city because they wanted to take down 12 to 13,000 trees in order to put in flat sidewalks. And he said, and the judge declared that that they could do a workaround. And it was a big deal. She even got interviewed by NPR and stuff. So, yeah. So there's precedent for this, for the support of this motion, this council file. Go ahead, Melanie.
okay, so I put it up on the screen for you. Council file 230167, et cetera, support. LA sidewalks are often broken and uprooted by adjacent trees, and we support the city's effort to fix sidewalks citywide. At the same time, our urban forest canopy is key to mitigating the heat island effect, fighting climate change, as well as providing shade for those using sidewalks. We believe the city must repair sidewalks without cutting down mature trees, as cities around the world do, and even some in the greater Los Angeles area. And we support this council file's intent to do just that.
So she's putting forth a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? You can take it off the screen. I think everyone, it is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Any additions or any thoughts or any things? Scott Mandel?
This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to council file, whatever that is.
Yeah, I got to remember to put that in, don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Melanie, since you have it, would you mind adding that now? So I don't imagine anyone's going to.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. No problem.
any other thoughts or comments or?
I'm just curious, I'm completely ignorant about this, but does the city of Los Angeles, are they skilled at actually coming in an area with, you know, this, where the sidewalks and the streets are all uprooted and able to repair all that and save the trees? Have they done this? Is this a proven, they have a proven track record on this?
I'll weigh in a little bit. I was involved in a lot of the discussions immediately following the Willits settlement, and with Public Works and Street Services and City Attorney's Office, and folks have brought them dozens of ways in which to do this for more than a decade. From different materials with the sidewalks, to changing alignments, to looking at the opportunities to also implement some other traffic calming at the same time. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do this. And they just kind of nod, and the city's general position on anything is, well, it's not how we do things, and show me 10 places around the world that it's been done for at least 20 years without incident. And if not, then we're not going to risk it. That's their general response. But there have been a number of other motions going on in council about pushing them to look more closely at other materials and other alternatives, and really having to get specific with the departments to dive into the specific recommendations to make it possible. So this is yet another nudge in that direction. They kind of suck at it. And I'll just say, because I got the email this morning when I was, I spent 2.5 years in a wheelchair, and so encountered all the bad sidewalks in the neighborhood and reported them all as a disabled person, which is supposed to prioritize them as a wheelchair user. It's been 3 years, and the sidewalks in Shipsoul neighborhood there on Maxwellton and Vantage that are so bad you cannot you cannot do them at all. They finally sent me an email this morning with pictures saying, can you just clarify that these are the places that you sent us? And they marked them up and like clarify. I'm like, it's nice that you have Google Street View and you're marking them red pen, but if you'd been out there, you would see that, yes, these are exactly the places. And it's just like, wow, 3 years later, cool.
There was a guy in Laurel Terrace and Rhodes. It was an older gentleman who was suffering from dementia, took a walk, as he had been taking walks for years. He was not allowed to go out by himself, but he took a walk and he tripped over on that really convoluted area behind sort of Yellow Balloon and hit his head and ended up being taken away by an ambulance and died from falling on the sidewalk. Now he was compromised for sure, but still.
Yeah,
Mm.
sidewalks are bad. Sidewalks need to be repaired. They used to do patching with asphalt. They stopped doing that. They've just been focusing on tree removal. I had a sycamore on my street removed for, I mean, the sidewalk problem was not a sidewalk problem. Nowhere near all the ones that I had reported, but they were like, oh, we got to take that tree down. It's like they were just looking
Well,
for
I mean-
excuses to take trees down.
Did you see that massive oak that fell across Tahunga?
Yeah.
Tahunga, what?
Tahunga and Woodbridge, right near, the between Moore Park and Ventura. It's like a 100-year-old tree.
Oh, wow.
Fell across.
Okay.
And that's one of, I don't know, I've lived in this neighborhood over 30 years and you can't really walk Tahunga safely because of these oaks. And everyone in this neighborhood has been asking for sidewalk repairs over there for 30 years.
Right.
Nothing was done, and the consequence was that tree fell across the street, and fortunately, nobody was hurt. But that's what's happening next.
What we're trying to get them to look at is permeable surfaces so that the trees don't end up, so water can get down. You have to give trees better space. You have to allow water to get down. There are flexible surfaces so that you can deal with elevation changes. There are permeable surfaces so that the water can get where it needs to go. It's just we're not taking this on in a sensible way.
Yeah,
And we need to protect the trees, and we need to have safe places to walk.
I just can't imagine saving those trees though, either along Tahunga or even what Chip was referring to, in whatever that neighborhood is called.
Silver Triangle.
Without. I just can't imagine them saving the trees and repairing the sidewalk at the same time, but.
They do it in Santa Monica all the time. In 1 year in Santa Monica, they cut down 3 trees. Because they make sidewalks that move.
I know, but okay.
And
And they can save the tree even though it's
they do, I
years
think,
old and the roots are surface.
yeah, I think they do some root cutting too. They'll
Hmm.
do some root cutting and some permeable sidewalks. It's more work than just cutting a tree down, I suppose. And, paving, sticking concrete in the earth. It's much more creative, but they can do it. And the judge for on the lawsuit already said that the city needs to do it and save, they saved like 12 or 1,300 trees. So yeah, it can be done.
Huh.
It can be done, and it's being done in Santa Monica for sure. And then probably other places in Europe. But we have, like, in our next door neighbors doing it, I know it's across the Great Divide, but anyway, so any other thoughts or discussion on this motion and call for a vote? Yep.
I just think it makes sense to actually raise the issue. And if the skill set is not currently present in the staff, then the city needs to look at training people so that they can actually do the job differently and better.
Yeah, agreed. That doesn't need to go in the motion. We're just supporting.
Yeah.
Any other comments or thoughts? I see Chris is here so he can vote. Let's call for a vote. You want to call the roll?
I shall do that. We're voting on Melanie's
Sorry,
motion.
guys, I'm in a noisy restaurant, but go ahead.
Okay, Adele.
Yes.
After that comes Alexander.
Yes.
Chris Trent,
Looks like he dropped off.
as did Susan.
Yeah.
Okay. Jesse's not here. Chip, yes. Melanie?
Yes. Does that mean we lost a quorum, or are we okay?
No, we're still okay with 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tony Knight's here. Andrew Epstein.
Yes.
Susan's back.
Okay. Susan, are you voting yes or no?
Yes, sorry, I'm in the cheap motel with bad internet. Everybody's here now using it at the same time, I think.
So-
Okay.
So my vote is yes, sorry.
And Chris, what is your vote from the cheap motel?
Yes.
Okay, which has now been recorded and duly memorialized in the city records. You have a unanimous approval of
Cool.
Melanie's motion for 5.
Great, thank you. Next motion is discussion and possible motion of City Council file 230141, grounded mounted solar permitting approval, LA 100 decarbonization and renewable energy, Los Angeles Municipal Code, LAMC section 1224.u.7. So can we have a discussion? I don't have a motion prepared for this one. And so can we have a discussion? Was anybody able to read it?
I didn't understand the issue.
I think this is a report back.
Can you put the link up?
Here, I'll put the motion up because I think that's where you really,
Okay.
It's just asking to prepare a report.
yeah, oopsie. What did I just do? Shit. I don't want that. I want the motion here. Yeah, it's just asking here at the end. I
Yeah.
therefore move that the council direct this the planning department and the Department of Building and Safety in consultation with Department of Water and Power and the city attorney to prepare a report with evaluation of recommendation to streamline and improve the ground mounted solar permitting and approval process found under LAMC in consideration of the council directed LA 100 decarbonization and renewable energy objectives, that this report include recommendations for an administrative process usable for majority of structures solely supporting solar energy systems not otherwise permitted, and where appropriate require conditional use permit process in order to protect all housing development, especially affordable and low-income housing, trees and native plants, limit reductions in open space while protecting wildlife corridors and hillside mountains. I further move that council direct the planning department and the Department of Building and Safety with the assistance of the Department of Water and Power to include within the reports an analysis of California Solar Rights Act and subsequent legislation that has improved it. That's what they're asking.
Okay, so I propose a motion that says, we'll get to the CIS language later, but the Studio City Neighborhood Council Sustainability Committee, Studio City Neighborhood Council supports the urgent evaluation of Council File 23-0141 that would potentially accelerate the community adoption of solar. Do we need more than that?
It's specifically to streamline a permitting process. I think, and so it's not so much for accelerating adoption, broadly, socially speaking. I think it's really specific to the street lighting network and allowing, there are some cities that do the ground mounted solar is stuff that's not on the roof, like it can be something on the ground. So I think a lot of cities have been taking street lights and making them, putting solar panels on street lights so that you sit there all day collecting solar, and then at night they can be powered by solar. But there's various applications for ground mounted solar that have to jump through too many permitting processes, as I understand it. So this is to streamline the permitting processes for ground mounted solar. And I think it's specific to, earlier up in the motion, it may say so, but I think it's specific to the street lighting network. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
So would it be the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports
Streamlining the city permitting process for ground mounted solar.
This motion is about pushing electric over natural gas and diesel and fossil fuel.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports streamlining the permitting process for ground-mounted solar as addressed in Council File 23-0141.
Where's the right sign?
So in the language of what this, what is the CIS language?
Sorry. What is that? Oh, I closed it. Oh, geez.
We have a question from the motel.
God.
Are we unmuted?
Yes,
We can talk now. So sorry, I'm going to jump in here. So are there any counter arguments for the ground?
What happened? We lost you.
I think we're
You know
frozen.
what, you guys, it would be good if, can you hear us? If you turn off your camera, you'll
Yeah.
probably get more juice.
But then we lose the motel.
No. Oh, yeah, well, that's true.
Okay, let me turn off. What?
Turn off the camera.
Okay, hold on. Where is the video? Stop video. Where is,
Just click stop video.
okay,
Okay,
no, we're still there.
You're still here?
Here.
There. There you are not.
yes, I think we're here.
Yes, we can hear you.
So are there any issues with mounting the solar panels on the ground? What's
There can be, if they're not, if they're installed in places, just, I mean, think big solar farms, right? So if you do ground mounted solar in the hillsides, that could be a problem. So this,
Right.
this motion is asking them to do a report back and to specifically make sure that they're streamlining a process that's going to make it easier to do ground mounted solar and not have to go through all these hoops, but to also ensure that it's done where appropriate and to protect housing, trees, and native plants, and limit reductions in open space and protecting wildlife corridors and hillside communities.
right? So who decides what's okay?
Right, so that's what the report back is directed at. Prepare a report to evaluate recommendations to streamline and improve the permitting process so that we can hit our goals, but do it in a way that protects. We want the report to include recommendations for an administrative process usable for majority of structures solely supporting solar systems not otherwise permitted, and where appropriate, require the conditional use permit process in order to protect all of the good things we want to protect.
Okay, as long as we're not bypassing something that could potentially do exactly that.
Right.
I have a
So we can put
concern
that in a
because we
motion.
have so little empty space. We're gonna take up more of it with solar panels.
No, that's what this is saying. We don't want to happen. That's saying.
Right,
we
but how are
want-
they going to,
We could
Avoid that.
we could emphasize that in the motion. We
Hey,
could,
Adele, can you screen share the motion, the full motion, because that'll help answer people's questions.
Mhm.
Adele, it's Alexander. Can I throw in a couple of points just to make, can everybody hear me?
keep
Yeah.
shaking?
Yeah, my day job is installing solar, and I've done and I do ground mount. And a new thing, it's a thing, it's called agrivoltaics. It's new ground mount solar that actually lets 60-70% of the light go through the panel and still continues on to have photosynthesis below the panel so that plants and animals and pollinating plants can survive under the panel. This is a thing. This is a new thing that's happening, but it's not happening fast enough. I would love to be installing that. I work as a solar design and install person, and salesperson during the week, and do ground mount, but do a lot of roof mount. So solar is both a good thing. It's a complicated thing. It is a changing technology that's not happening fast enough. That would be really cool if it could do what you read about and see examples of that are not actually on the market yet. I'm just throwing that out there. It'd be so nice if solar had gotten to where we know it can get to. And so there's different ideas about how to do ground mount solar that allow light to come underneath and continue to do great things for the planet underneath those panels. Other than that, it is the individual solar panels also ground mounted that are specific to, yes, street lights and other things that don't have as much of a shade issue so that pollinator plants and natives can exist. Just want to throw that out there. That's all.
So it's possible is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I've installed ground mount solar and I've tried to get it up high enough and get plant life to exist underneath and let animals go underneath and let things happen underneath so that solar isn't a suffocating.
It can work. We also need to protect wildlife corridors and leave open space. So it's good that they're
Absolutely.
putting that in here.
And that's the next issue.
The thing that is
fencing.
the problem, the thing that's the problem is the planning department decided a while back that in every instance of ground mounted solar would have to apply for an individual conditional use permit.
Yep.
So that is what's taking up a lot of time. So what they're looking to do is streamline that decision that was made back in 2014. What they want to do is say, hey, we don't think we need to do individual conditional use permits for every ground mounted solar installation. We think that there are better ways to get at this. So we want to encourage ground mounted solar where appropriate, leave the conditional use permit requirement in place in certain instances, depending on where it's going to be located, but don't require every single ground mounted solar.
And here's the deal: for residential ground mount, you don't I'm pretty sure we don't require fencing, but in commercial, fencing is required. So I can't remember all of this, so don't quote me on it, but fencing is a big issue because that's where you're screwing up wildlife and wildlife corridors. And that's when you suddenly shove wildlife out of the picture in favor of humans and their need for ground mounted solar. But where ground mounted solar can coexist with wildlife free movement and plants growing underneath is really the goal. I just want to make that clear.
And they're also looking to do this on the aqueduct and other places that might make sense. What the determination by the zoning administrator was basically saying that ground mount solar is considered electric power generating site, like a plant or a power generating station. And so it should be subject to a conditional use permit. So this is saying, go back and take a look more closely at this, please, 10 years on, and let's see what we can do.
And then
give us a report back.
Okay, wait, Susan has her hand raised, and I just want to point out to you, Chip, this part, Chip, to put that in the motion, the part that I highlighted about protect housing, affordable and low income trees, native plants, open space, wildlife, corridors and hillside communities. So let's put that and emphasize that in our motion, please.
Right.
Okay, I'm stopping the share. Can I stop the share or do you need it still, Chip? I'm going to let you're muted, Chip. I can't hear you.
I think I should be okay.
Okay, I can always send it to you again.
Okay.
Susan, you wanted to talk. I want to hear you.
It's actually Chris.
Chris, okay.
Troublemaker. So I have an issue with this, that we're potentially opening up an avenue for abusers to abuse the system. It seems like it could be potentially a gray area, since we're taking out the mandate for every situation to need to apply for a permit. If there's an avenue that you don't have to apply for a permit, that's where abuses start to come into play. The solar thing is a very complex issue, very complex. It's not just, oh, let's put up solar and that'll be great. There are tons of downsides and tons of upsides, and each specific installation could potentially have downsides and upsides. So I don't know that this can all be crammed into one overall, hey, let's, you know, let certain ones go by and let's let other ones have to have. I don't like it.
It doesn't say get rid of it. It says streamline and improve.
Yeah, that's a bunch of word babble. That you interpret that a multitude of different ways.
Hmm.
I don't think it's necessarily going to have the outcome that we want it to have. That's my concern. This is something that could be discussed at length for weeks, if not months. I don't think it can be decided, you know, just in a quick meeting. I understand the thought, but I have concerns that it's opening up an avenue for abuse.
Chip?
I hear what Chris is saying. But I'm thinking we're not in a situation where it's not broke, don't fix it. It is sort of broken right now. So I think that this isn't actually making a decision. It's asking for a report back on how things could move more smoothly. So I think for that reason, it's worth asking them to review the process with an eye towards streamlining it. But
so we are asking for a report on the idea of streamlining it.
right, how would you make this more streamlined while still protecting the public and the community and nature and everything else? But so without foregoing all the concerns addressed by CUPs and all the current regulations, can you hold that public protection and still speed adoption of ground-mounted solar?
Okay, if we're asking for a report on streamlining the issue, then that seems fine.
That's what
And I think that-
the motion that we're supporting is a motion to do that report. And so we're supporting the request. to
Because
do the report.
we couldn't possibly support a plan to streamline it because they haven't done it yet.
Right.
And they have to talk to us about that before. So if we file a CIS supporting the report back, then when they do it, we'll get a copy of the report back and we can weigh in on that.
And we may say that what you're proposing is too reckless. We want to go back to, we want to leave things the way they are.
Yeah.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'm good.
I'm just looking at right now, if we wanted to move to solar streetlights, for instance, every streetlight would have to get a conditional use permit, and that seems insane.
Well, it does and it doesn't. It depends on where those streetlights are.
Right. If they're in the hills.
Yeah,
Right, but
so-
if we have, you know, up Laurel Canyon, you have 10 miles of them and you have 30 in a given mile, you'd have to get, you know, what, 300 conditional use permits, or that's crazy. It's just time consuming, right?
Well, and it makes everything happen so much more slowly when certain times it should happen slowly and certain times it doesn't need to.
Right.
So I think this is a good, I mean, you know, I'm good. Do you have a motion written out there, Chip?
Yeah, so basically, there will be the CIS language. The Studio City Neighborhood Council supports streamlining the permitting process in order to this permitting process for ground-mounted solar as addressed in Council File 23-0141 in order to potentially streamline okay, that's it. And then what we have is
While
that
preserving.
yeah, then I'll list that last sentence. So
Yeah.
the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports streamlining the permitting process for ground-mounted solar as addressed in Council File blah, blah, blah. Of particular concern is the maintenance, and then I'll put that sentence in.
While protecting all housing developments, affordable low-income trees, native plants, limit reductions in, not limiting reductions in open space while protecting wildlife, whatever. You'll have
Yeah.
to make it make sense. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
It's
Is that-
not maintenance as much as it is of concern is just making sure that the streamlining process recognizes the existing situations where we do want closer review.
Correct, yeah.
So that is my motion. Do I have a second?
Can I second? I'll second it if that's okay.
You're a committee member.
I second it.
We'll now go to vote. Adele,
Yes.
after Adele comes Alexander,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Jesse is excused, Chip is a yes. Melanie,
Yeah,
Tony and I is excused, Andrew Epstein.
Okay,
Okay, unanimous. I'll get that to you this afternoon or this evening, so I don't scramble 4 weeks from now.
With the other two.
Yes, which I'm still scrambling for.
Now that you've written it down, and Melanie, you can send me that one too. I'm gonna put
Sure.
it in one big document to, and hopefully they're gonna have a special meeting next. They're gonna have a board meeting tomorrow night and they're never gonna get through. I hope Scott's here listening. They're never gonna get through that, and I'm gonna move that we do a special meeting, and he was willing to do it the following Wednesday, so. I'll get our motions on. We'll probably have like 5 motions or something.
can we have all ours in time for that special meeting? Because we've
Well,
got.
I have the 4 from last time,
Mhm.
and then we got 2, actually we'll have 6, and then we have
Okay,
2 from tonight. And I
Okay.
can get them if I'll get him, if I get him to him tomorrow, then he's not gonna do the agenda for the next meeting until after tomorrow night anyway.
okay,
Right.
okay. As long as. we don't
After
skip on it.
Wednesday night, actually,
Yeah, oh yeah, Wednesday night, sorry.
when tomorrow's SCRA.
On the
As long as
day-
we don't sleep on it, it'd be great to get to clear the table.
Yeah,
Yes.
I really want to clear the table. Okay, and now I want to have a quick, not too long discussion of Studio City vision plan. How do we want Studio City to look in 2050? And what are our guiding design principles? And the reason I want to do this in sustainability is I want a sustainable Studio City, A, and B, land use is not really functioning right now. So I would like to have some thoughts, and maybe we can have a couple people take charge and do. I don't want to, just before I open up the floor, I'm not interested particularly in doing the kind of comprehensive plan that Sherman Oaks did, even though I wouldn't mind it, but I don't think it's realistic. But I would like to, let's talk about what we want to see our Studio City to look like in the next, years. Of course, in 2050, Chip and I are not going to be here, but I mean, we might be here, but we might be. Would you
But we
say,
won't know.
Drooly? Sorry. Anyway, any thoughts or comments, or anybody want to sort of, do some research, write up a plan, write up some ideas, not a plan, write up some ideas or anything?
Well, I would love to hear, just go around some folks to imagine. I want to hear what people think.
I have 3 thoughts myself. This is Alexander Black speaking. One would be open space, one is forever wild, and one is low ceiling, a maximum height. As in it's not gone up in height like Encino. We do have a real commitment in conservation easement. And we have open space that is in a beautiful flow for community access. And really locked in for generations to come.
When you say low, how low?
Well, that's a good question because, as we hear ourselves think of this through as not wanting to become an Encino, not wanting to become other places along the Valley corridor that we know about, that we've seen them go up in height.
Right. So what's your in your head is like 4 stories the max?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, you know, that would be a wish, a dream, but it's, yeah, I would really try and make Studio City that place that you know of, because it's because we did that, because we had the courage to do that. And we kept it there. Like I lived in Venice in 1986. I bought a house right on the beach, and I lived there till 1999, and I had the Coastal Commission to deal with. And there's a reason for the Coastal Commission and their architectural maximum heights. So, yeah.
But when you say, I have a question about that. When you say 4 stories height, are you saying along the boulevard? Are you saying everywhere?
Yes,
Because
no, you're right.
already-
It's that identifiable corridor that is most identified by virtue of, you know, right now we're identified by our palm trees, our ridiculous, pretty useless palm trees that nobody wants to get rid of, that we really should get rid of,
Yay.
that are iconic,
Agreed.
that are ridiculous, that are absolutely absurd, that offer nothing.
Yes.
They came with the territory, and they're part of this symbol, and that's it. It ends with a symbolism.
Yeah.
So recreate symbolism with that low story, and you start a new narrative. We define the narrative with that low maximum height, and you define the narrative with a new canopy. Get away these goddamn palm trees that we just can't seem to run away from fast enough. That woman, whoever she was, started out in Beverly Hills and brought the whole thing, this whole nightmare of palm trees, to Southern California. So, yeah. Whatever we can do to start a new narrative.
Who
Let's-
else? Who else has dreams?
Andrew, I'm going to go with the A's, starting with Andrew. Go ahead.
I think I agree with on the height limit, but also the density. All these proposed new developments along the boulevard. My vision of Studio City in 10 or 20 years, if we're all still here, is that you won't be able to even drive through it. Can't do it now. You know, you can't navigate Ventura Boulevard, Laurel Canyon, east or west. And this plan for the Radford Studios, I think, is frightening, incredibly frightening. I don't know if we can have any impact on that, but I think that's the scariest development I've ever seen in a small little community for what they have planned. And then the half a dozen other developments that are planned on Studio City. It's just not going to be what it was at all.
So wait, back up a bit. So you're talking about what you don't want, but what could you see? Like, for example,
I don't know how you fight these I don't know what I see, because I
well,
see
one of the
these
things,
projects moving forward.
let me interrupt you. One of the things you might do is insist that the developments create some kind of a way for people to move up and down the boulevard without having to drive their cars. So you have some kind of an electric trolley or something that people can get on and off, and they can go up and down, much like 3rd Street Promenade or something like that. I mean, I'm just throwing out ideas.
I hear what you're saying. I'm not a real, I don't mind mass transportation. I just don't think LA is ever going to do it properly.
I will note that Los Angeles was one of the first to do it properly, and it's less than 100 years ago that we had the best public
That's the
transportation
past.
on the
That's the
planet.
past. That's the past, and now it's ruined. You know, that's
You
gone.
can always rebuild. What we have right now is not fixed. What we have not right now, a lot of what we have right now, various events can destabilize and or destroy. Mulholland Drive just crashed into the canyons in the last rainstorm. It may happen again other places. Things we're used to may not persist. They haven't been here forever. They're not fixed. We have a notion that what we have right now is somehow good and is somehow immovable. And I love to hear people's imaginations about what's legitimately possible for a healthier Los Angeles or a healthier Studio City. I mean, do we want to always have to drive everywhere? Do we want to continue with a lack of open space? Do we want to continue with a lack of
Yes.
shade for our palm trees? Do we want to continue these things, or can we envision something different?
Yes, I think a lot of people are here because they do want to drive, because there is so much to do and it's so massive. The diversity of places to go to is not something you can just hop on a train to or a subway. It's not New York at all. Never has
But
been.
it was.
Oh, 100, okay. I can't go through that argument. I just can't keep repeating that. But I think
Well, but you said it never has
I don't
been.
mean to be
It was.
naysayer, but I think the solution may just be Studio City needs to be like no growth. For this small area to survive as a small area, as a decent place to live and work and recreate, you just have to say no to these developments. The density on the boulevard is just insane. And it's only going to get worse with these next half a dozen projects. The Harvard Westlake thing is just too much in a small area. And I don't mean to be Joe negative here, and I know I'm not offering solutions, but maybe the solutions is just to say no, and I don't know that that's possible with the politicians that we have in place.
I would put it to you that it is never productive to just say no. You always have to propose your alternative. Even if you're
Well,
saying no, you have to have an alternative, or there's no point.
I don't have to have an alternative to Bradford becoming this massive studio in the middle of a suburb.
Oh, an alternative might be something smaller. An alternative, there are many ways to offer an alternative, but just saying no is never helpful.
Well, just so you know, Andrew, I pretty much feel this, I feel the same way you do, but I've been sort of looking and talking about this for a long time. And I was talking to somebody, oh, you know, Steve Hirsch. And I was saying, well, they can't do this and talking about Sportsman's, actually, the landing. And he just said, I think that ship has sailed. And it kind of hit me really hard that the ship of no growth for us is not a ship we can ride in on. It's not one that will win. So then what would you like? It's what Alex was saying is, well, why don't we limit the height 4 stories? And why don't we, so it would be a lot along the boulevard.
There is a height limit now, right?
It's 30 feet, but they can jack it up if they do very low income, like a small
Right.
percent of very low income, and then all bets are off. So that's what Sportsman's is doing, is they're saying they're building 520 apartment buildings, and 78 of them will be very low, which means you have to earn $60,000 a year or more to be in them, which doesn't sound like very low to me. It sounds like moderate, but for us, it's very low because of our median, income. And there's no guarantee who's going to get those 78 apartments. And that means 78 minus 520, all the rest are market rate apartments. And how is that going to really help us? And, so for me, I don't think that's a great solution, but that's how they get 94 feet at the highest, by having those 78 apartments. And there's very little you can do about it. That's how city planning is working these days. Now, are there ways to push back on the exceptions they're asking for? Yes. Do we as a community have that political savvy? I don't think so. So, but I think if this committee were to set forth something, a realistic request of densifying with saving green space and saving the tree canopy, and still allowing, you could still build a lot of apartments and not ruin the feeling of Studio City. And I want to say one thing, which I was very against Sportsman's Landing, but you know what? They kept those buildings at 30 feet and it doesn't look bad there. Now, they took out 90 trees to do it, which is bad for me, but it doesn't look as bad as it could have looked. And I think if we were able to push back and have the guy, what's it called, Midwood, have to save the existing trees, build around them, and not just build lot to lot and make a massive thing that, I think that would be a great accomplishment if we were able to do that. So I think saying no progress is, what's that thing about spite your face, cutting off your nose to spite your face. I do. And I hate that I'm saying that because I feel exactly the same way you do, Andrew. But I am seeing that if we don't find a way to deal with, do our part in allowing affordable housing, our part as in Studio City, right? Then, we're going to get all this massive stuff jammed down our throats. We did get some good news today. I got some good news from Barry. And remember that, I'm just going to throw this in here because this is part of good news. Remember the mystery market on Eureka down on, actually on Ventura where Eureka was, they were going to put in, and this was in land use. Well, we're going to get a Sprouts there, and they're going to use the existing building and refurbish it. They're not going to tear it down. They're going to actually rebuild it, which means they're not going to tear down trees. They're not going to mess with the driving and all that stuff. It's going to be Sprouts, which is cool.
At what, Eureka in Ventura?
Yeah, remember? Oh, you weren't on I was on land use at this time. They were shoving down a mystery market, which I'm pretty sure was going to be an Amazon warehouse, because they wouldn't tell us what it was. And then they left, and now a Sprouts is coming in there. I just got notice of it from Barry. And I just got a bunch of notices of a bunch of housing things that are coming in. And I would like to, end up sharing that with you guys, but I really want us to try and think about what, if wishes were horses, our beggars would ride, right? But what if our wishes were, if we could make our wishes come true, what would Studio City look like, knowing we have to, there has to be some densification. There has to be some building, because we have, you think about from Colfax to Tujunga, it's dead. The Ventura Boulevard's dead. And stuff's coming in, people want to build there. And, there's a lot of empty stuff from buildings and so forth from after COVID. And how would we as a neighborhood council, how would we want it to look? And what do you think people, and maybe start asking, our stakeholders.
I want to get rid of the auto uses between Colfax and Tujunga.
Well, that's going to happen. Don't even worry. It's happening.
Oh, okay, you were talking, right? So
Yeah.
no more auto uses between Colfax and Tujunga.
No more what?
Auto related uses.
It's all like automobiles or like, dealers or a limo company.
Right, no, I live right behind him, I know.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's one thing.
Mhm.
I would like 20% more open space in Studio City.
Mm.
I would like to have residential over retail along the boulevard. There's so many places where 3 and 4 stories would be hardly noticeable and would be super useful. I would like for the 240, the 230, the 240 and the 230 to come every 5 minutes. And we are electrifying our bus fleet. So I always giggle when people talk about fun little trolleys, because Jesus, if you have electric buses that go every 5 minutes, Jesus, that's what you're asking for, right? Unless you want to be some sort of Disneyland.
No, that's exactly what I'm asking for.
I want buses, I want reliable, clean electric buses that go every 5 minutes up Laurel Canyon and across Ventura. I want the 218 to come every 10 minutes during rush hour and every 15 minutes the rest of the time. Because if you had reliable, clean buses that went north, south, and east, west, and the 218 going over the canyon, and they come every 5 minutes and every 10 minutes over the canyon, you could completely, I mean, you can eliminate a lot of commuter traffic. So what I want is tree canopy along Ventura. I want the palms to go away. I want dedicated bus lanes. I want every 5-minute service. I want half as many automobiles on the road. And I want some more residential over retail, and I want 20% more open space. So I want everybody to literally be able to walk to a park. I want everybody, I want protected bike lanes on all the majors. That way you can walk or ride anywhere and you don't have to get in your car. And we have shade, and we have more open space, and we have less pollution, and we have less noise, and we have more people walking on the street, and we have more alive communities. And I would also like a community room. I would like to have some place that the city underwrites that has our field representative. We can go and see our field rep in that space. We can have our neighborhood council meetings there. We can have community meetings there. We can have giveaways, access to other information that people need with the city. So they talk about resilience centers. They talk about all these kind of good things, but I want people to be able to go and also build community and connect with your reps. There you go. That's the surface level of.
If Adele, as you say, it's a given that it's going to be developed from Colfax to whatever, Lancashire, Vineland, then the city, I would hope they were considering some kind of parking building, public parking. Free public parking.
I will note that the requirement for us to meet our greenhouse gas emissions goals, which help us not to fry 100 days of the year in coming generations, include a significant reduction in vehicle miles traveled, which translates to a significant reduction in the number of single passenger vehicles on the road. So the need to build parking is going to continue to go down. We can't have a safe climate and continue the way we're doing. It's not a doable thing. It's not sustainable. This is a sustainability committee. And if you want to sustain your current lifestyle, that's not sustainability. That's why I'm always asking us to remind ourselves what we're sustaining here. Because if we're sustaining the palm trees on the boulevard and sustaining our right to each drive individual automobiles and find convenient parking that is subsidized by those who don't drive, that's not sustainability. That's not sustainable for everybody.
I
But it's
do
called
know,
peace of mind, and I like the fact that when I can drive into Beverly Hills, I drive into Glendale, Pasadena, I know I can find parking, not a problem.
I
But
like being able to jump on a bus and go there.
LA,
I like being able to get on public transit and go those places and not worry about finding parking.
okay, well, that's probably not a majority of LA, but I know it's an issue. It'll never be a majority of LA, never.
I do know that when and if you get an electric car, it changes the way you drive. Because it's kind of like having a golf cart as opposed to a car. And it really changes your thinking about driving. So, and what is it, 2030, Melanie? They're going to stop selling gas cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that.
And some, the younger generation are now looking at buying gas cars. I mean, electric cars. They're not going to buy gas cars.
If they're driving at all, a lot of them aren't even bothering to get their license.
Yeah. A lot of them a lot of them don't drive and they Uber all around or something like that, or they go on buses.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it's a times are changing and we're sort of in a different,
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to the younger people who are active in advocating for change in government, they're not getting in their single passenger cars. They don't talk about parking. They don't talk about any of that. They're pushing for better public transit. They don't want to be chained to something that costs them that much money, because we all sort of conveniently forget about the carrying costs of private vehicles. And that's just the carrying costs to the individual. The public subsidizes all the rest of your convenience, but nobody wants to have to pay that much money to buy, maintain, and insure an automobile. They want public transit. So talking about what's possible and what's not possible and what's never going to happen, when you look at what the younger generation is demanding, you have to reconsider.
well, you don't have to, you can just see that change is coming, whether you like it or not.
That's what I'm saying, you have to reconsider, what is possible and not possible?
Susan and Chris, do you have any thoughts?
I can go first. I guess I'm just going to keep it simple because there's some things that have been mentioned that I wholeheartedly agree with, and other things that have been mentioned that I think are complete vapor. I want trees. If we can't stop the buildings, I want as many trees going up as buildings going up. I want if there's going to be huge buildings everywhere, I want there to be huge trees everywhere too. That's what I want.
Is that all you're saying?
That's
Love
it for me.
that. I agree. Susan?
Yeah, I agree with the tree thing. I was thinking development along Ventura. What they should have are buildings that have little courtyards or something where you can have some green space mixed in, because I mean, I don't know if you have looked at what they did in Playa Vista, but it's a disgrace. They have these solid, almost prison-like buildings all along Jefferson and all that area in Playa Vista, and it's just horrendous. No green space at all. And so I would say more green space. Height limit is definitely a plus. Courtyards in businesses, and that would also be, you could have gathering spots. No growth. I'm all for no growth. I mean, there's plenty of people. So other than that, I don't think I have anything to add at this time.
Chip, did you say anything?
I did not. The only specific focus I would add to what's been said is that I believe the green space around the LA River that runs through Studio City is an overlooked community amenity that needs to be enhanced with the addition of native trees and shrubs and the habitat that creates. I think there should be walking and biking paths that run through there. And I think that should connect with the rest of the proposed LA River Bikeway. I think that should be a priority because I think we can get a lot of the air quote green stuff done there. There's room for thousands of trees and perhaps tens of thousands of shrubs and all the associated smaller plants that go with that. I think we should focus on building that out. Other than that, I think it would be fun to take a look what everyone put together and put it in a hopper and see if there's a coherent direction or if there's inherent differences in vision from the committee. But I don't think it's a bad exercise to take to the farmer's market or something like that, to sit there and have people tell us what they think in a community forum.
Maybe we could do up a kind of survey with all the different ideas and let people check the boxes of what the things they like.
I want to know what Scott thinks. What is your dream of Studio City in 2050?
Bike paths.
Yes.
It's a place I used to live. That's my dream.
Smart ass.
It was a wonderful life.
When you come back to visit, what does it look like?
I think I missed most of what you guys said. I was away from the computer, so maybe you already discussed this. I think it's gonna look like Encino.
Yeah.
But what would you want it to look like is the question, not,
I want it to look like what it looked like in the mid 60s when we came out here from the East Coast. I want to see Market Basket. I want to see the Iron Horse, Hungry Tiger. I want to see Tail of the Cock. I want to see Studio City the way it used to be. And that's not happening. There are so many proposed ordinances coming that are beyond our control, like the alfresco, like the half a mile from a transit stop, no parking necessary, like all the incentives we see with projects like Sportsman's and Sunswept and all the others coming down. I don't know if you subscribe to the city planning updates, but man, there's a slew of projects that just hit Studio City. It is amazing, between Radford with their $1 billion expansion, plus pretty much all down Ventura Boulevard. So I don't know.
well, shoot them our way.
If you subscribe to the city planning updates, it was pretty incredible what showed up on Sunday. The size and scope, unprecedented, is what I'm being told from other land use veterans, that they've never seen such a barrage all at once.
Did you get them all in one email?
Yeah,
I have it. I'll send it on to the group.
Great.
That's why I say no growth.
apparently there's more coming on Ventura and Coldwater. There's another second-story bar, apparently. I'm gonna try to get more information on that.
Second story bar at the landing?
That's what it reads like. That's what the address is, and that's what it says on city planning. I don't know where they're doing a second-story bar. Maybe that there's like a planting place or a greenery place there that has a second.
Rolling Green, yeah.
The nursery.
I thought that was a salad bar, but my
No, it's a nursery. A
yeah.
very high-end nursery.
Well, I don't know if that's where it's going to be, but
Are they hoping to make it an event space, and so they're looking for a liquor license?
I have no idea. I'm waiting to hear back from city planning as to what it is. There's no information.
Well, there's all kinds of room up there. I mean, the gym also has a second. I mean, there is development. There's room for space up there. I mean, it is a 2-story structure.
So Rolling Green's asking for a liquor license?
I don't know if it's Rolling Greens. It's not clear in the city's email. If Adele wants to send it.
I'll send it.
Now, it may be, now, Rolling Green does have sort of an event program, and this may not be it, but basically a bunch of people could go over there and make wreaths, or, I mean, so it could be showers, it could be.
Yeah, but that's not a liquor license.
Yeah, and so they probably want to sell wine.
Yeah, that's what I'm imagining.
I can read you what it says. Project description: the sale of beer and wine for on-site consumption in conjunction with a 1978 square foot bar, lounge, retail establishment, and a full line of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption at the second floor, 12833 Ventura Boulevard. That's all I have.
Off-site consumption?
Yep.
That sounds pretty non-standard.
That's like a winery or something.
A bar, lounge, and retail. So it's
Sounds fun. Sounds good.
so that's just one of many.
Cool. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of people with a lot of money who want to do a lot of things in Studio City. And if all of them happen without any sort of balancing mitigations in terms of transportation and open space and trees, then the reason that they are wanting to bring their business to Studio City will no longer exist. So having parameters on what we want to compensate for all that seems to be reasonable.
Plus, there are proposed changes to the Ventura Cahuenga Boulevard corridor specific plan.
Yes,
The makeup and what the specific plan can actually govern. So that's,
that just got adopted, right?
it's a council file, and there's going to be a presentation from city planning or an announcement Wednesday. It's on our agenda.
The report was just acted on. The report was adopted, right?
The way the council file reads, if it's approved, the specific plan will change substantively. The makeup and what they're allowed to govern.
Right. I think some of this is coming from the things that have transpired in other specific plans that have been finalized. And the way I understand it, planners are, with community plans and specific plans that are in process, they're sort of trying to say, well, that got adopted over there. It seems to make sense to have that be incorporated into the other community plans that are moving forward to keep things simple. At least I think that's what they were saying. So is this to incorporate plan elements that have been adopted in other
all city
specific
codes.
community plans?
It reads that all city ordinances and codes would be folded into the specific plan, so the specific plans would lose their specificness. Also, the makeup of the members of the plan review board would change.
They're expanding them, right?
I mean, I would just look at our agenda and click the council file. It's about as clear as mud, so I'm not going to try to explain.
Right. Okay.
What
So,
it means,
can we go back to the vision plan, this idea that I think it would be really interesting if I will do up a kind of a survey list, a sort of like, would you like to see, and then a list of things, 20% more green space, more trees, a bigger, I don't know, whatever I'll come up with it. And then we can, can I send it around individually or something? I can't remember. Not so much.
I think what you need to do is get a consensus with the committee. And well, okay, let's back up. We have some farmers market dates coming up, and Terry's going to announce that on Wednesday.
Okay.
What?
Because we were thinking we would,
Farmers market.
if we could do a little survey, not too complex.
You're fine collecting information, coming to our table. The homelessness committee will be there with their information for homeless services. You could be there and collect information any way you want. And then if you want it to be board sanctioned, then it comes before the board for but you're totally fine.
We just think it would be good to get some more information from stakeholders, so it's not just us weighing in and what are the things that people want to see.
Sure. I mean, have a QR code that links to whatever the questions you're going to ask, or just ask people and write it down on a piece of paper.
Yep.
Fill it out and give it to you, and then collect the information.
So if everybody will just send me what they think should go on a survey of things we've talked about. I've written, bus path, bike path, green space, 20% more, LA Greenway, work on that, height limits, public parking, bus every 5 minutes, residential over retail.
No growth.
No growth, which is,
Protected bike lanes, bus lanes, frequency of service, more open space.
I got that. I got both of those. Okay, so just send me stuff, just jot stuff down in an email, send it to me, and I'll put together a survey. For
The more we have at our table at the farmers market for the SCNC, the better.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be great. I think it's
We can attract people, and while we're telling them that there's an election and there's board seats and they should also run or vote, explaining to them the questions that I just heard you say should be very beneficial in getting people involved.
yeah, Yeah. And where's what's Susan? Just you there? I think you should have a dream of having like a pollinator park somewhere.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, if we're having a table, it seems like we should also give out information on artificial turf. It'd be nice if we had a budget and could give out some free native plant seeds. I don't know. And information on pollination garden.
Good idea. I'm writing it all down. Okay, thank you. And for Chris, we should have a bird garden.
That's a little more tricky. Put in some trees and I'm all on it.
We might also have something about rodenticide. I think that's really important. People seem to think that, you know, poison is good and animals take care of it if there's no poison around.
Oh yeah, Studio City should be a pesticide-free zone.
I second that.
I love that. Okay. All right, I have a bunch of stuff to put on a thing and we can go
And a
over it.
leaf blower free zone.
Yeah. No leaf blower free.
It's for Scott.
I think lawnmowers are next. They are. I think they're gonna get outlawed.
Oh, we
So
shouldn't have
I just want to
lawn.
go to the last thing and have Chip report on anything new on the oak walnut woodland sensitive natural habitat along the south side of the Ellie River between Colfax and Tahonga.
No, we had a very productive conversation, Scott, Adele, Melanie, and I, with Mehmet from CD4, and found out that they really do have, they're aware they have 19 miles of river within their district. They have a glossy top line plan and are aware of legislation that surrounds any sort of development, but they really don't have a plan to start enacting improvements. And when we said we'd like to do some of the heavy lifting, they were happy to work with us on that. So I think I'll get something to everyone that was on the call. We'll have a conversation and announce some sort of Studio City centric collaboration with CD4 and see what they can come up with. And simultaneously, once we have kind of a plan, we'll take that plan to what's her name, Barger's county district as well, and see if the county can help us keep the city honest.
That's hilarious, Chip.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I hear not good things about Barger.
Yeah, but she's termed out, so there's hope.
Who's
But-
coming in after her?
The idea that the county would keep the city honest, especially on the river, is hilarious. I don't know, people are gonna have to run. You know, we'll see what the full candidate pool looks like soon enough.
And when does she term out? Is that
24.
Yes, Andrew, what do you comment?
I just want to give you, just a quick, it's sort of a update, but also classic story about LA. I've been trying to work on that one on-ramp, off-ramp, Vineland and the 101 freeway across from the Garland. Do you all know that circular, very large on-ramp?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it used to be my on and off ramp to and from work every day for decades. And it's gone from, from horrible to even, I can't even use a better adjective. It's just blight. And so I tried to get involved. I tried to get in there and see what could be done, realizing it's Caltrans, it's not the city. And I had a virtual meeting with Caltrans, and they gave me all kinds of reasons why they can't do anything. But and then coincidentally, I drove by last week and I saw a whole bunch of construction crews over there. And part of the problem is there's a ton of palms and trees, and they're all being strangled by ivy. And sure enough, they're all being cleaned up. I was curious. I said, "Oh, I must have had some impact," but of course I was wrong. It's a cell phone tower company going in there and doing the cleanup. And Caltrans is just letting them in there. Well, I guess they have to let them in there, but there's no other plan besides that. They're going in there, they're getting rid of all the ivy. And so when I spoke to Caltrans, they said, well, you know, you're welcome to apply for an adopt a highway. You know, one of those adopt a highway things, and you can beautify it yourself. So it was a good news, bad news thing, but it's just such an eyesore. And it's, if you know that, you know, literally probably thousands of people go on and off and then go to the Garland and Universal, and it's sort of one of our representative on-ramps and off-ramps for tourists and visitors and all that kind of stuff. Besides being, you know, a heavily traveled thing for commuters. And so it was just another frustration in terms of Caltrans. I've been communicating with, I think her name is, who's our new assemblyman, Laura Friedman, is that her name?
Yeah.
So I'm now talking to their deputy and see if they can do anything, but Caltrans is pleading poverty. And so it was just interesting that a cell phone tower would go in there and do the cleanup that Caltrans should have done 30 years ago, 20 years ago.
I think that area, wasn't that something, Scott, that Barry talked about in his government affair or transportation committee? That was one of the places that that the board is going to vote Wednesday on cleaning up. Or do we vote on that last month?
It already voted, the request for action already sent, and Caltrans already wrote back and said they're gonna trim the palm fronds. Or maybe they're gonna cell tower company to trim the palm fronds.
Well, it's much more than trim. The whole area is,
Yeah, it's a mess.
yeah, so.
Barger's office has an open house this Friday. If anyone's interested, she sent an email out. I hope everyone got it.
Barbara,
From 9 to 11 on Friday, the 17th, 4130 Cahuenga Boulevard, number 108.
Barbara who? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Barger's office, Catherine, our super.
Oh, Barger, okay.
I think it's Barger, but a lot of people say Barger. 4130 Cahuenga, Friday, St. Patrick's Day, 9 to 11.
Does she have a presentation or is it just a meet and greet?
It's just a meet and greet. There's a new, we have a new field deputy who replaced Jason Maruka, and he'll be there if anyone's interested. Anyone who doesn't have a job. On Friday at 9 o'clock, I'll be there.
Might really screw up my yoga schedule, but I'll see what I can do. Yeah, I mean, that would certainly be the appropriate time to get down there and sort of gauge any interest whatsoever. I move we adjourn.
I have a
Second.
question. I have a question quickly.
Second.
Scott, on our agenda, and we just passed a motion for a CIS that looks like is already on the agenda from Government Affairs. Am I wrong? 12B?
Let me take a look. It's looks like the sidewalk issue with the trees.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Clearly government affairs, right?
I was not at that government affairs meeting. That was actually an in-person meeting, and I did not attend. I was out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, apparently it is on our agenda.
This is
Mhm.
an example where Barry sent it to me. I said I would do it. And then he just went ahead and did it.
Mhm.
What is his motion? I'm trying to get
Board of
there.
the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports Council File 23-0167 for a report back on best practices to sidewalk repairs used by other cities that would preserve the city's mature street trees while ensuring safe sidewalks.
Adele, are you okay agreeing with Barry? You gonna be all right with that?
I don't mind. I just wish he wouldn't do that.
So
I mean, I wish he wouldn't send it to me, say, okay, you can have it, and then do it himself.
Well, it will be on the agenda Wednesday, so,
Great.
I mean, it
Terrific.
is on the agenda. It will be discussed if we get to it with 20 motions.
So you don't have to write up that motion, Chip. Thanks for noticing that, Melanie.
Oh, that was the one that I wrote.
Oh, sorry.
That's
That's the one
Chip.
you wrote.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
doing the ground mounted solar.
Yeah.
So you can just forget that. All right, cool beans. Way to coordinate, guys.
As far as coordination, could we think about for the month of April, perhaps moving our meeting a week forward in the month? So that after our meeting for that month, we have time to put any sort of motion on the board agenda?
Let me look at a calendar. Because what? Where's my calendar?
It looks like you're good for April. You meet on the 10th.
Yep.
According to the calendar, and the third Wednesday for the
Is-
board is the 19th.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have time.
Okay, cool. Never mind
And
then.
also, everybody, if you're all still on, we have to meet on the 10th in person. So if you're not going to be able to meet in person, you need to let me know, so I'll take you off the committee.
So we can get a
Otherwise,
quorum.
we won't have a quorum. So, and also, we won't be able to, we have to meet over at Radford. Is that how it's going?
For now, yes.
And do we have to meet in our offices, or can we request the conference room?
If you think you're gonna have a big enough turnout, sure, we can ask Radford to meet in the multi-purpose room.
Okay, we'll see what happens between now and then. That's cool.
Right.
But if anybody wants me to pick them up, so I could, because do I have a badge yet?
Yes.
Coming,
Okay. If anybody wants me to pick them up and drive them through, so you don't have to, can we park near the conference room?
yes, after 5 o'clock.
So you don't have to go into that ridiculous parking situation and everything, just let me know, I will pick you up.
If you have a badge, you can park near our,
Yeah, I know where.
And you can carpool with your electric car. I'll be driving my truck solo just to kind of give it.
So I
effect-
can pick up Alex, I can pick you up, I can pick up, and Chip can pick up somebody too. Melanie, I can pick you up if you want. Susan, I can pick you in, well, I can only
I'm
get,
across the street from Radford.
I know, but
Oh.
then you don't have to walk.
Oh, I'm literally if I don't have to go down to the big parking structure, if I can go through the main gate, it's easier to walk.
Adele, can you give me that date again? What's to have to be available for in-person meeting? What was the date again?
April 10th. April 10th, it's a Monday. So, but Melanie, I don't know. I have a badge that, can I
She
get all,
still has to sign it. Every individual has to be in
but she
security.
could sign in at the gate where I go, right?
Yes.
This is for Radford Studios?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, I'll take that. If you have a badge, that'd be great. Okay, thank you. April 10th. Okay, and that's every month on the 10th? Or,
No, our meeting is always the second Monday of the month.
okay, so
But we
second
could
of the
move it
Monday
First,
of
if
the
we,
month.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to be I can no longer be on Zoom. I have to be in person, second Monday of the month at Radford Studios. Is that
Correct.
what I'm hearing?
correct.
I need to know.
Correct.
Because I've got family and other things. Thank you. Thank you.
Did you want to say anything before we close, Alexander, about something?
Well, the
You want to put it on the next month's agenda?
Yeah, the one thing I do want to remember, let everybody know is I'm working with LA Sanitation on the Recycle Stars program. It is a program that will be grading businesses on their organics diversion, how much of their diversion they'll be or diverting organics for as in SB 1383. And that what that means is coming up with some ideas about incentivizing and making it giving the customers an idea of how well businesses are adhering to SB 1383. Don't have any answers yet, but I will tell you all I'm meeting with the zoo on Friday this week, walking with all their cafe, their restaurant people there, as well as Mercado Paloma, which is a Latino group of restaurants downtown. I'm overseeing two pilot programs with LA Sanitation and a couple of the waste haulers on programs to divert organics. I can go over to that at the time. Thank you.
Thanks,
Cool.
Alex. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
A second.
All in favor? All opposed? Thank you so much, you guys. That was a very efficient meeting. Hopefully Scott Mandel can make that meeting so efficient on Wednesday.
Ah,
Good luck.
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
It's out of my control.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.